today I'm going to talk to you about the confidential token, the missing layer for institutional DeFi. I'm Matthieu, Product Marketing Manager at iExec. For those who don't know what is a PMM, let me explain you a bit, because it's not very usual to meet PMM in this kind of events. So when you create a product, you have two phases. The first one is the discovery phase, and then the second one is the delivery phase when you create the product. The PMM role is here to create market research, user research, in order to understand the future end user needs and pain points. And then, if the PMM has done its job properly, the product team should be able to ship the product with traction and usage, because the product should solve this main pain point. So I think you can guess it. Today, I'm going to explain you the discovery phase I made from September to December last year when we were building our confidential token product at iExec. And I'm going to explain you why did we build this product, how did we build this product, and for whom. This is not the first slide. Yes, this is the first slide. So yeah, the first step of the discovery phase was to create a market research. So we selected 6 major networks to narrow our focus on the discovery phase. So we selected Ethereum because, of course, Ethereum is the top one DeFi protocol today. Arbitrum because we are already live on Arbitrum since last year at iExec. And we selected Base, Solana, and Hyperliquid because they have very interesting numbers in terms of usage and adoption. So when you look at this graph, you can see like figures everywhere. So let me explain you a bit. We created our own metric for the discovery phase and for this market research, which is TVL market share for each network. So what you can understand is that Ethereum is mainly composed of yield protocols, Arbitrum, lending protocol, Base, lending and liquid staking, Solana, of course, DEXs, and Hyperliquid is mainly composed of derivative. What was interesting to see with this market research was that the RWA TVL market share was very tiny compared to other markets, and it was very interesting for us because at this market was very tiny. It means there was no dominant protocol, and that this market was like structurally wide open. What we also understood from this market research is that there are 6 main categories in today's DeFi if you actually want to create value when you want to ship a product. So it's lending, liquid staking, DEXs, yield, derivatives, and RWA. No, this is not the right slide. In parallel of this market research, we did a massive user research where we interviewed 100+ people. What we understood from this user research is that you have 3 categories out of these 6 that have very high confidentiality pain points. So for DEX, PubDEX, and derivatives, we can see that the people we interviewed were professional traders, DAOs, and they told us that they were facing friction when it comes to confidentiality with front runnings, alpha leaks, and sandwich attacks and MEV bots. However, this was a friction, but not a blocker for them, because those guys are crypto natives. They were born with the crypto, so they know how to deal with this friction today. However, for RWA, we interviewed like a lot of institutional investors and corporate treasuries, and they told us that they wanted to move into blockchain. They wanted to move into DeFi, but they were facing a friction, which is that they need to keep their investor data private. They also want to move into blockchain because they want to leverage the blockchain industry with instant settlement. They want the 24/7 because crypto market never stop. And they also want new business opportunities, new market share. So they really told us that they really wanted to move into blockchain, but they were facing a real blocker that is a legal blocker. So it's a very high pain point for them. Yes. The final step of the market research was to do like a micro analysis for each category. And then we understood that if we take the TVL of each market, there is one dominant player or sometimes two dominant players that are capturing all the volume of the market. So we have Lido for liquid staking, Aave with lending, Tether and USDC with stablecoin, and Pendle for yield, for example. So this is what we call a winner-take-all model for DeFi markets. However, as we saw, RWA is a tiny market. It's still young, it's dynamic, it's fragmented, with no dominant protocol. So for us, it was very interesting to focus our product on RWA and institutionals. So I think you can guess it. We decided to focus on this market, but then we needed to understand the market potential. Yes. When you look at the data of RWA today, you have 26 billion in March 2026 that are tokenized on public blockchain. 3 years ago, it was only 3 billion, and we expect 100+ billion of tokenized assets in 2027. What is really interesting as well is to analyze the total addressable market, which is 100 trillion of real-world assets that can be potentially tokenized on public blockchain. So the market potential is very massive. And if you take just a RWA segment, which is the fund industry, we expect the fund industry to grow to 30 trillion assets under management in 2027. And when you look at the graph, you can see that the current tokenized funds on public blockchain is only 2 or 3 billion. The total stablecoin market cap is 200 billion, and the missing gap between the total addressable market and the current market is just massive. So I think you can guess it. We wanted to create a product for RWA, for institutionals, but still we needed to create a product that would unlock transparency for institutional DeFi in order for them to scale. So if you take, for example, if you take an example in order to understand what we wanted to create with our product, if you are in an institutional DeFi and if you want to move, let's say, 15 million on chain, you can get front run or you cannot hide investor allocation. This is a major problem that we wanted to solve with the confidential token. So the confidential token is a product that hides on-chain balances and transactions amounts while preserving composability and on-demand auditability. So how does it work? So basically, you can shield on-chain, go from public into private whenever you want. The confidential token is a technical wrapper. You can wrap any ERC20 into a confidential one. So this is this is what you can see. You can go from public and private, and then create what we call a confidential zone. And in this zone, you get access to selective disclosure, which unlocks on-demand auditability in order to meet regularity requirements for institutionals. And then in this confidential zone, you can do confidential swap, confidential transfer with hidden balance and amounts. Yes. The product is live. It's on the testnet, Arbitrum testnet Sepolia. You can try it on cdfi.iExec. And this is the product we just launched on Monday. Thank you.